Virginia Brown FAIRE was a popular leading lady of the 1920s and successfully began starring in the Talkies, but by 1935 she had retired. Join me as I investigate why. She was born as Virginia Labuna in 1904 in Brooklyn to Joseph and Martha Labuna, who, according to one source, were Italian. At some point, her parents divorced and her mother remarried a Mr. Brown. In 1919, she entered the Fame and Fortune contest with Motion Picture Classic magazine as Virginia Brown, taking her stepfather's surname. She was one of the 4 winners, resulting in a move to Hollywood and an appearance with her fellow winners in a short film entitled A Dream of Fair Women. Apparently the film got her noticed by Universal, who signed her in 1920 and starred her opposite Hoot Gibson in the Western short Runnin' Straight. This film marked the first appearance of her full stage name, Virginia Brown FAIRE, the surname perhaps added as an homage to her short film appearance. Runnin' Straight appears to have done well, and after a few more shorts, Universal starred her in her first feature as the leading lady to William Buckley in Under Northern Lights. In 1921, it appears that Universal either began to loan her out or she left the studio to freelance. I can't tell officially because while she worked at several studios over the next few years, she still made a few Universal appearances. Either way, Virginia's star was on the rise. At Pathé, she was top billed and without benefit of clergy in 1921, which got her a great review for her acting in Variety. After starring with Universal's Western star William Desmond in Fightin' Mad, Virginia had another big opportunity when she was cast as Princess Haidee, one of Gilbert's leading ladies in Monte Cristo at Fox in 1922, which also got her a rave in Variety, which stated that she acquitted herself exceptionally well. 1923 was an even bigger year for Virginia. She starred opposite Wallace and Noah Beery in Storm Swept, opposite Ralph Lewis in Vengeance of the Deep, opposite William Desmond again in another Western, Shadows of the North, and also opposite Paul Gerson in the charming adaptation of Dickens' classic story, The Cricket on the Hearth, one of her best performances in my opinion. That same year, she was also named a Wampus Baby star, probably on the strength of all of her work. However, in 1924, Virginia got an even bigger opportunity when Paramount immortalized her in the role of the finicky Tinkerbell in its live-action adaptation of the beloved J.M. Barrie story Peter Pan. In some impressive special effects for the time period, Virginia was miniaturized as the tiny pixie fairy, but still able to convey Tink's jealousy and frustration when Peter brings Wendy and her brothers back to Never Never Land. 1925 saw Virginia star in 5 more films, including a reunion with her very first leading man, Hoot Gibson, in The Calgary Stampede, and starring as Ruth Stein, the fiancée of Arthur Lubin's Morris, who is hiding his impoverished family background in his people. While Virginia began her career starring in Westerns and made her fair share of Westerns over the first 5 years of the 20s, moving into 1926 and going forward, she became quite the in-demand Western and action leading lady star at various Hollywood studios and almost seemed specialized in those 2 genres, although she would still make her fair share of comedies and dramas as well. Virginia starred in close to a dozen Western features between 1926 and 1929. Highlights included Desert Valley in 1926 and Tracked by the Police in 1927. Non-Western highlights of her final silent years included a lovely leading turn as a title character and Queen of the Chorus in 1928, and as the seemingly frivolous wife of Creighton Hale, who's hiding his own secrets in The House of Shame that same year. In 1929, Virginia made her talkie debut in a supporting role in Frank Capra's Columbia murder mystery, The Donovan Affair, which also starred Dorothy Revere, Agnes Ayres, Jack Holt, John Roach, and William Collier Jr. While we are fortunate to have the film footage from this movie, the soundtrack discs are sadly lost. After making a few more silents in 1929, Virginia moved into 1930 by supporting Dorothy Revere again in Murder on the Roof, another Columbia Talkie murder mystery. Following its completion, she moved exclusively back into the Western genre, starring as the leading lady in 13 Westerns from 1930 to 1935. Highlights included The Sign of the Wolf in 1931, in which she starred alongside King the Dog and Rex Lees. Alias the Bad Man, also from 1931, in which she starred alongside Ken Maynard as Mary Warner, a woman who bravely fights for answers after her father is murdered. West of the Divide in 1934, in which she starred alongside John Wayne, and Tracy Rides in 1935, in which she starred with Tom Tyler. Tracy Rides ultimately proved to be her final film. That same year, she married her third husband, furniture manufacturer William Bear, who she remained with for the rest of her life. According to her obituary, the couple moved to Chicago following her film retirement and later the East Coast, where she began to work in radio. Eventually, Virginia and William returned to California and lived in quiet retirement. Virginia Brown FAIRE passed away from cancer in 1980 at the age of 76. So we are left with the question, why did Virginia Brown FAIRE retire after successfully becoming a talkie Western leading lady? I think there are two possible answers. First, her roles were becoming less numerous as the 30s went on, probably because of the amount of competitors she had. A plethora of silent leading ladies found themselves starring in Westerns in the early 30s, and perhaps there were just too many of them to find jobs. However, Virginia seemed to be one of the more successful ones, so she could have ultimately decided to simply slow down her film work and eventually give it up for good once she met and married William Bear. Either way, it is obvious why Virginia caught the attention of Motion Picture Classic in 1919. She was a wonderfully talented actress who seemed to prefer quiet, understated performances that were rich with subtle nuance. We are fortunate to have several of her silents and talkies available to view and enjoy. You can find Monte Cristo on YouTube with John Gilbert, and you can find Peter Pan in its entirety on my YouTube channel for free. Talkie-wise, you can find Alias the Bad Man and Tracy Rides also on YouTube. If I was to write a book about Virginia, I would call her Queen of the Silent to Talkie Westerns. What a talent, what a legend. I must thank my sources for this episode: Silent Players by Anthony Slide, bwesterns.com, the New York Times, and archive.org for their digitization of Variety, Motion Picture Classic, and Photoplay. Please like and subscribe or follow this account if you want to learn more about the history of silent film stars whose stardom lasted only briefly in the talkies. Up next, join me as I investigate the silent to talkie career of William Farnham. Thank you so much for joining me. Have a great rest of your day.